Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Do you like movies?
Do you like sports?
I've never played that sport on the screen, but I really enjoyed how the movie made me feel.
Well then, have we got a show for you. The Adrian Moment is where my friend Ocean and I discuss the triangulation of sports, movies, and life.
We dive deep into the movies, discussing how they relate to and have affected our lives.
We will talk about why the sport matters to the movie, why you don't have to love the sport to enjoy the movie, and mine a few nuggets of meaning inside the story you may not have realized was really there.
After listening to our show, come join us for more conversations about the movies that portray the thrill of victory
and the agony of defeat.
Find the Adrian Moment podcast on your favorite podcast app and join us while we cover the sports you love and the ones you never think about.
You will never see sports or sport movies the same again.
Hey, psst. Hey, you see that Snickers over there? If no one's looking, you should just take it.
No! Don't listen to him, my son. That would be stealing, and stealing is a sin.
Sin Schmin, it's a freaking Snickers bar. You deserve to have it. Sinning really satisfies you.
Repent, my child. Virtue is the only real snack worth savoring. For that candy bar is merely a gateway to nougat damnation. Has this ever happened to you?
Listening to the devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and you're not sure what to think?
Then we're here to help. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III, and this season on All the Feelings, we're examining the 7 deadly sins.
You know, the fun ones.
And the 7 heavenly virtues.
Which are also a thing. Through personal stories, historical oddities, and way too much embarrassment, we take you on a thrilling journey through all the goods and the bads you hear about in church.
But without all that pesky church stuff. So come join us for All the Feelings Season 9, a sometimes funny podcast about being human. All the sins, all the virtues.
All in one place. Go to allthefeelings.fun to learn more, or subscribe to All the Feelings wherever you get your podcasts.
Game over.
Hello, and welcome to the most excellent 80s movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker, a comedian, and their fabulous podcasting improviser guests joke their way through the 80s movies we think we love or might have missed with these our modern eyes. And today we're talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a movie selection from 1988 about which Letterboxd says it's the story of a man, a woman, and a rabbit in a triangle of trouble. Toon star Roger is worried that his wife Jessica is playing patty cake with someone else, so the studio hires Detective Eddie Valiant to snoop on her. But the stakes are quickly raised when Marvin Acme is found dead, and Roger is the prime suspect. That's not actually an accurate description of what happens in the movie. It is inaccurate. But the important thing is that we are here to talk about this wonderful movie from 1988. I am Chrissy Lenz, one of the directors and a performer at the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona. And with us, as always, is...
I'm Nathan Blackwell. I'm an independent filmmaker, and my legend for terrible self-introductions is well known.
Yes. He's an award-winning, and I always have to put in the award-winning part. But have you won any more awards since the last time we talked?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, technically, the movie won an award, and so I guess that since I directed the movie, then I also get the award, but I don't own the award. The award is somewhere else. So,
oh, okay. All right.
yeah.
That's fine. If you owned all the awards and had them all with you, there would be too many awards.
Yeah, I'm honestly not big on displaying awards. It always feels like a little weird to me, like to have like a big award thing like behind me.
No.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I think you should have one. I think you should invent one.
I keep a couple, but yeah, most of them.
Once you
like...
start doing like Zoom interviews on for TV shows and stuff, you're gonna have to have some sort
Right.
of
Yeah.
backdrop.
I'll buy some fake awards.
Fake awards. There you go. Throw in
Yeah.
a few
Yeah.
movie posters. It'll look good.
Yeah, there was this one scene from a script that I really like. You know, the scripts had some structural issues, but there was a scene that I liked where one character was showing him around the house, and he came into into one room, and there's like literally like 200 trophies, and it's like, oh, this character is not amounted to much. It's like, oh my god, this is wow, this is amazing. What are these for? It's like, huh? Well, these trophies. I'm trying to read what are these for? They don't. This one doesn't have a plaque. No, I make trophies. I liked it.
I like it.
And then they leave just quietly.
So I had a very embarrassing experience once where I made a short film for a comedy festival that was about winning awards, and it was the award for best awards, and so we made this like little short video about it. And they made it seem like everybody who participated in this festival was going to make a video based on awards, like with awards as the theme. And then it turned out ours was the only one. So it seemed like we made this video and insisted they play it. Which was not the case. Which was not the case. Anyway, the other voice that you heard that you may not have recognized, or you may have recognized if you listen to any of my other podcasts, is our guest for tonight, who is also a performer. Or I should let you say what you do. It's Nate McCorder, everybody.
It's me. I broke like the cardinal rule of podcasting, which was talk before you're introduced. I like felt it immediately as soon as I did it. So,
but there's also a curve. Like once you're really successful, then you can talk before you make introduction.
But I'm not that successful. No, I'm just someone who does comedy at the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona, and also records an most excellent podcast called Gank That Drink with you, Chrissy, and I am very excited to be here. I have not been on this podcast in quite some time. The last time I was on, we talked Young Guns.
Oh my god, that was like our fourth episode or something.
Yeah,
it was a long time ago.
We hated it
that
so
was
much.
I think that's the lowest rated movie that we've ever watched.
I think it is our most hated movie. Young Guns.
It was rough. So I'm glad to be back for a beloved film.
Yes, so beloved. So 1988, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Is this a childhood favorite for you, Nate McCorder?
Yes, it absolutely is. Also, thanks for having a double Nathan episode. I always love a double Nathan episode. Yes, my mom showed it to me. I think I was probably like a little younger than Rocket, so I don't think I watched it. I was exposed to it till I was old enough to get a good chunk of the jokes. I think my parents were pretty smart and like not. I think this is a movie you could show to a younger kid, and a lot of the stuff's gonna go, way over their heads. But I think my parents waited till like a good, perfect age to kind of actually let me see this movie. And I've probably seen it anywhere between like 20 and 30 times in my life. Even though I like have seen it that many times, I watched it again just because I was like, heck yeah. Like it's a I say the words along with the movie.
Perfect.
Awesome.
What about for you, Nathan Blackwell?
Yeah, I definitely remember seeing this a whole bunch. I remember seeing it in the theater. I remember that the joke that got the biggest laugh in the theater was at the end where freeways, traffic jams will be a thing of the past.
Yes.
And then all the adults who brought their kids just howled at that one. This was definitely beloved. But it was also fun because I probably haven't seen it in like 15 years. Like I've seen it well over a dozen times. A classic but there was a lot of moments that were fresh on this viewing, which is always fun. You always try to you chase that feel, like you wish you could, like, erase your memory and then rewatch a certain movie for the first time sometimes,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'll purposely just not rewatch a movie that I loved, or at least maybe have like an emotional impact, maybe less for comedies and more kind of like, ugh, it ripped my heart out, I love it, and then you want it to keep having that power, and maybe you don't see it for a couple of years.
Is there a recent movie that you would say has had that effect? Because I do the opposite. If I see a movie that has an impact on me, I want to watch it again right away. So the
Right.
most recent movie that I wanted to watch as soon as possible again was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I feel like that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, nothing else comes to mind because I'm getting older and my memory is terrible.
That's fine. All right. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? So we open on a cartoon, and there's a cartoon baby who is, of course, in danger. And Roger is in charge of watching this baby, and the cartoon is just a festival of injuries to Roger. But at the very end, a whole refrigerator comes crashing down on his head, and the door opens, and Roger has screwed up because instead of seeing stars like he's supposed to, he's seeing little blue Tweety birds. So the take is ruined. Oh, Roger, you screw it up, you big screw up, and we realize that this is a cartoon movie set, and we are at a movie within the movie.
Like all movies, apparently that was all done in one shot, like not how movies are done. Like those hundreds of shots that we saw, it was apparently just one take, and they've got to redo it all from the beginning. Just like
back
movies
to one,
are
everybody.
never made.
Back
It
to one.
was a Rube Goldberg scene, right? It was a Rube Goldberg machine of a scene, and yes, everyone back, do it again,
back to first position.
But I think it was I love the beginning of this movie, and I love this because they kind of like we're gonna do one shot one time in this movie. We're gonna get to make a cartoon, like straight up. We're gonna get to make a cartoon. And they gave it 150%. They gave it every single bit. And it just, the movements, the animation, everything is so like classic and vintage. Looney Tunes, it's immediately nostalgic. Mm-hmm. It's brilliant. It's absolutely, I could watch it 100 more times, just the opening sequence. It's so good.
And in 5 minutes, we immediately know what Roger Rabbit, his where he sits in the entertainment world, what kind of stories he makes. Mm-hmm. We immediately are transported to that time, in the 40s.
Yep.
And when we cut out, when we see the director and how he interacts with everyone, we see that tunes are real and how they actually shoot their stuff is real, as in it's not drawn. They have tunes acted out. We know how they treat him, and we feel bad for him. And we also meet Eddie Valiant, and we see his reaction to all this. And so we've got all that, and it's literally like 5 minutes and 20 seconds in. It's just so effective.
It's quick and clean. It's a quick and clean intro to this movie.
It's a great overture.
Yeah. This is Robert Zemeckis. This is Robert Zemeckis right after Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And so
at Prime this point, Zemeckis.
Yeah, this is vintage Prime Zemeckis.
So Eddie Valiant is a booze-drenched, hard-boiled noir detective who we get the impression hates tunes, is not amused by tunes, doesn't want to be around tunes. And he gets the assignment from the head of the studio, whose name I can never remember.
R.K. Maroon.
R.K. Maroon. He gets the assignment to go take pictures of Jessica Rabbit at the Ink and Paint Club and try and get some dirt on Jessica Rabbit at the Ink and Paint Club that night. So we get to see the Toons doing funny stuff around town. We get to see the humans interacting with the Toons, which is a huge part of this movie because, as you said, the Toons are real. They're just part of this world. Eddie rides home on the back of the red car. It looks just like Buena Vista Street in Disneyland, in Disney's California Adventure Park.
Yeah.
It looks exactly the same, and they
Yeah.
have the red car that drives around there.
And that's one of my favorite scenes. It's always been one of my favorite scenes because there's like 19 jokes packed into the him hopping on the end of this red car, but it also there's so much exposition in it too. And I love the line, LA, we've got the greatest public transportation system in the world. Who needs a car in LA? Which of course, like we all know, even by 1980, everyone needs a car when they live in LA. And it sets it up. But then my favorite joke is when he gets off the trolley and he goes, "Hey kids, thanks for the cigarettes." He just bumps cigarettes off these kids. Oh, and again, it's just such great character building in like such great subtle ways. And we're really getting to know Mr. Valiant here. And I've just had a very huge fondness for that scene for some reason.
Yeah.
Because that's a hilarious line. Thanks for the cigarettes, kids.
Yeah. Thanks for the cigarettes, kids.
And even though it's like a joke, like the whole idea about transportation in LA, and we remember it because it was a funny joke, but that's kind of the plot of the movie.
Yeah. It is the plot of the movie. They're very much it's Chinatown, right? That's the
exactly
movie we're riffing here.
Yeah, so it's which was all about water in LA, and this is all about transportation in LA, which we all know is a big effing deal,
Yeah.
But I love that gag. That's so good.
So then his next stop is a bar where his sort of girlfriend Dolores works, and we learn that he's borrowed money from her, and she needs to put it back in the till before her boss finds out. But it seems like she owns this bar.
We never see the boss, do we?
No.
At one point we see, and this is like later on in the movie, but you see like the frame of her and his brother, and they're out front of the law office, or the PI office, right, with the plaque on the wall, and it says like two schmoes and a floozy or whatever go into business together. So then I was like, wait, do they also own the bar? That I guess not, because when she quits at the end, she says, "I don't want to stuff olives the rest of my life," or whatever. I don't know.
But you've only been, it's not your whole life. You've only been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. My guess is that she worked as like the secretary for their law office.
Okay.
And then when the brother died and basically Eddie climbed into a bottle, she basically had to find employment. Yeah. And then, but yeah, it seemed like she really ran the bar.
Sort of single-handedly.
Basically,
we do learn at this point that Eddie doesn't work for Toons because a Toon killed his brother and dropped a piano on his head. So we're just getting exposition left, right, and center. So he goes to the Ink and Paint Club. He meets Marvin Acme. He gets squirted with some ink. But don't worry because it's disappearing ink. There are two ducks doing dueling pianos.
Yeah. And we can't understate the significance of this moment where Daffy Duck and Donald Duck are on the same stage. This is like the beginning of the expanded universe. This is like two, like you couldn't get two bigger companies that didn't like each other, like Warner Brothers and Disney. And the fact that these characters were interacting with each other like they lived in the same like expanded universe, that was like seismic. Like, that was like there wasn't going to be another moment like this for 20 years,
It was the first multiverse.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
It was invented here, kids.
And it was also considered to be like a legal impossibility. Like you would have like 99 lawyers saying there's no way you could do it. And as far as I understand it, the only way they were able to pull it off was because of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
He
He
basically
can do anything. Steven Spielberg can do anything.
We'll trust our IP, any IP with Steven Spielberg. He can have it. I think, and still to this day, is the only time Mickey and Bugs have ever appeared on screen together. Right? Is there another? I think it's the only time. If I'm
I don't know.
I can't
Can't think of
unless
what
there
other
was,
event would.
yeah. Because there have been other times when other IPs of those two have been on, but not specifically Bugs and Mickey. I think the two like kind of flagship characters for both of them
stars.
have appeared. So yeah, no, it is absolutely huge. But that first moment with Donald and Daffy and the piano bar, and like I want to go to this club, this like speakeasy in the alley with the monkey bouncer, the gorilla bouncer. Like I want to be there. I want Betty Boop to come walking up. Like I've always wanted. You can keep your Star Wars cantina at Disneyland. I put this bar, this speakeasy somewhere in Toontown. Make it one of those special secret places you got to pay way too much money to go to, like the Bayou, right? That's what call up Disney right now. We're gonna make this place because I've always wanted to go to this place.
That's awesome.
And it's not just because of Jessica Rabbit's review. That is.
But I guess I'll stay.
But
I mean, it would be weird if I get up and out right as soon as it. And I love how much, like, Eddie hates all tunes. All of them are just grating on him. But I love how he respects Betty Boop. Like she's like I can't take any broads, but man, she's a classy lady. You know, I love that little moment with her.
He's the first tune that he talks to with any respect, and one of the few, like, for a while, for sure. I love On the Rocks is one of my favorite jokes in this movie. And I mean ice. And then of course they bring it in rocks, like of what they weren't going to not. And that can be a thing in the restaurant. You can buy those little, like, they're like look like rocks that are ice cubes. You would serve every drink in those.
Yeah. So we do get to see Jessica Rabbit's very sexy singing song, and we get to see her interacting with the humans, like pulling on Eddie's tie and rubbing a cloth on Marvin Acme's head. And so I think that's really neat, the way they show the tunes impacting the real world, and the real world reacting to the tunes. So Eddie gets himself bounced out of the bar. And he ends up in the alley where he does take pictures of Jessica Rabbit playing patty cake with Marvin Acme. And so I was watching this movie with my 13-year-old son, Rocket.
And he was instantly propelled into puberty.
he was like,
Mom,
do they mean sex? And I was like, no, they're literally playing patty cake. That's the joke, is that it's supposed to make you think they're having sex, but they're just playing patty cake.
It sounds like they're continually using euphemisms. And then she played patty cake. Oh my God, look at all this patty cake.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny.
So we have to talk about Jessica Rabbit before we proceed.
Okay, very well. Talk about Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah. There's I guess there's a couple, like, there's seminal moments in cinema history. Maybe they'd only come by every 3 or so years, that instantly propelled young boys into young men. And I feel like Jessica Rabbit was one of those characters, and it's interesting because the whole concept around her was that Zemeckis specifically wanted her to be the ultimate male fantasy as drawn by a cartoonist. And so her overt sexuality, her over the top buxom appearance was very much designed to have a meta level to it, which I think
Mhm.
was all, it's like her like maybe the most classic line in the whole thing is that I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way.
Yeah. Voiced by Kathleen Turner, who we love, who has the sexiest voice of anyone.
I think that Jessica Rabbit is, it's not just, yes, how they drew her and the way the allure of her is obviously, yeah, like everything you said, but it's also the fact that at every point the movie tries to like frame her or make her seem like she's either unfaithful or that she is going to murder Roger, she's in on it. Like for most of the movie, it's like trying to turn your ire towards her almost, but at every point she turns out faithful, she turns out supportive, she protects Roger in the end. Like she's just overall like a badass in
And
general.
she loves him. She
And
truly
she
loves him.
right? And that's like, he makes me laugh. It's one of my favorite lines in this movie. Like it's I think that there's so much more to her than just the how she's drawn and everything, which is what I love. Is it could have just been that, right? It could have just been the overt sexuality and this is how a cartoonist would draw a very but it's just kind of, there is a lot of depth to the character of Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah, they specifically want to reverse your expectation. They want to make you think so much into this one direction, and if you only and then you don't get all the positives from her if you only know her through cosplay. And she is a deliberate device to flip your expectations.
And she does great, and she's a fine example of a character, but she does look like just sex on a plate. So
yeah, it's possible they went a little far, but so what's interesting is that they didn't finalize her design until after the movie was shot, and there's a scene where they're looking at the newspaper, and it's where what's his name has died, and they've got her photo
Marvin
in it.
Acme.
Yeah, her character design in that photo is different.
Huh.
It doesn't look like, it almost looks a little more like her hair almost looks a little more like Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Yeah, I'd go back and see if you could spot that. It's when it's in the physical newspaper, when it's something that they had to shoot in the movie on that day.
Oh, okay, interesting. I will go back and look at that. So yes, the newspaper does reveal that once Roger's been informed that Jessica has been playing patty cake on him, but he's like, no, we're gonna work this out. We're gonna be happy again. Don't you worry about me and Jessica because we're still in love. And Marvin Acme is killed. He's murdered. A safe is dropped on his head, and of course, Roger is the number one suspect. We meet Judge Doom, whose he's a judge, but somehow he's also a crime scene investigator, and his minions are all weasels who are cartoons. They're cartoon weasels. It's Christopher Lloyd. He's looking very weird. And he has this invention called dip. So he's like the judge, he's the crime scene investigator, he's the judge, he's the jury, he's the executioner, because he murders a shoe by dunking it into his invention, which is dip. It's like turpentine and something that can kill a tune. It's the only way to kill a tune is to soak them in this dip, and he just murders.
It's the most upsetting part of this movie.
Yes.
It's the most upsetting scene in this movie.
Yeah, because it's like a little puppy or kitty.
And everyone just stands there and watches it. Even other tunes. And it's,
and they're all complicit.
Yes, they are. Those weasels.
They are all complicit.
Yes.
It's so unsettling. Even in this watch, I'm like, I could skip past this. It's so, but it's because Christopher, and part of it is because Christopher Lloyd is terrifying.
He's
Oh,
so
yeah.
scary.
So scary, but they make him look so tall and impending, and especially compared to like Hoskins, they make him look so short and
Mhm.
stout. But it's also one of my favorite Christopher Lloyd roles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ever.
he's so good. I heard Tim Curry audition for the part, and he was too frightening, which I love.
I could see
Yeah.
that.
So this may not make the podcast, but I just texted you both the image of Jessica Rabbit. There's like the photo and then the newspaper.
Oh.
Yep, that is a blink and you miss it reveal. She does
Yeah.
look more like Ariel. She also her dress is different. Her whole face is different.
Mhm.
She has a lot more eyebrows and nose than she ends up having. She almost has no nose in her final character
Yeah,
design.
her final character is much more like 30s and 40s look,
Yeah.
Yes.
and older, like almost closer to Betty Boop's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is so interesting. Yeah, I've never caught that. That's a great blink and you miss it. They're only slightly different, but they're very different. So we learned that there's kind of two things going on here. So Roger is being framed for this murder of Marvin Acme. But also Marvin Acme owned Toontown, and he always said that in his will he would leave it to the Toons. So unless the will turns up by midnight, Cloverleaf, which is this mysterious company that nobody's heard of, is going to own Toontown, and no one knows what will happen to the Toons.
Yeah,
So we've got
this mysterious Cloverleaf company just recently bought the bar,
and they bought the public they bought all the public transportation.
Yeah,
They bought the red car.
Yeah.
The car and the bar. They bought the car and the bar. The bar with the leaky tap that they keep a little glass underneath for all the beer to just fall into. One of my favorite pieces of set dressings in this movie too. The bar with the cool speakeasy hole. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very cool bar. And so at the bar, Roger is left alone very briefly, and he starts entertaining all the patrons of the bar. He's singing and dancing, and he's playing a song, and he's breaking all their glasses, and he's entertaining everyone. And this is where we get the about of this movie, which is that laughter is the most powerful force, right? So that if you make someone laugh, not only will they love you forever, like Jessica loves Roger, but they'll be loyal to you. Like all these seedy patrons in this seedy bar. Judge Doom shows up, and Roger's like, "They won't turn me in. I made them laugh," and he's right.
Yeah.
That was very meaningful to me as a theme to this movie, that laughter and jokes and making people laugh and smile is so powerful, because the contrast of that is that Eddie Valiant won't laugh, won't smile, doesn't like tunes, has become a humorless drunk. But we get these snippets throughout the movie that he used to be different, that he used to have fun, that he used to like tunes, that he used to be a little bit silly, and that's all in the past now.
And he's not too far off from the villain. We end up learning about the villain of this movie, who is also a toon, who probably has lots of feelings of insecurity and self-hatred, and so therefore banished laughter from their life, and then wanted to banish all the tunes as well, in chase of money and capitalism. There's lots of layers, as with most Zemeckis movies. There's so many layers to every single thing that's going on. But I agree, Chrissy. I think that is it's a great theme in this movie, is that the power of laughter. And the Angelo, the guy who's like the worst of all of them according to Eddie, he, even when the judge is later on is going, "Oh, Sophie's joining us. Hi, Sophie."
Oh, Sophie has thoughts about Roger Rabbit.
So when Angelo is being asked by the judge, "Where's the rabbit? Where's the rabbit?" and he pulls out the Harvey joke, he goes, "Oh, I've seen a rabbit. He's right here. Say hello, Harvey." And everyone in this bar laughs at that. And I turned to Abby last night and I was like, I love that all these like drunk, sad, depressed, a lot of them probably just lost a job, these barflies, they know American theater. They've all, and living in LA, they got the Harvey joke because they all laughed. So obviously they've all seen Harvey, which I'm sure we've all seen. I've seen the high school production, and it is not good. And I know it was a high school production, but like even objectively, not good. But I love it, and like you said, he's not going to turn me in. I made him laugh, and what does he do? He makes people laugh in turn by making a joke. And so, yeah, it's a sweet little turn and such a dated joke. Even for the time this movie was made.
I'm so curious whether Rocket got the Harvey reference, the invisible rabbit.
He didn't. I had to explain it to him.
And then did he even get shaven a haircut 2 bits?
He's heard that before just through other cartoons. So I don't think he really like registered it too much. He was just like, "Oh, I've heard that joke." You know, he's heard that. You know, it's the same as the match in the gas tank. Boom, boom. So he's heard it before, just through other silliness avenues.
Good.
But I had to explain to him about the Harvey joke.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get it.
I wouldn't expect him to. I don't think I got it the first time I saw it.
Yeah. He's like, "What's that? I don't get it." And I was like, "Oh, it's a movie with Jimmy Stewart where there's an invisible bunny." Oh, okay.
It's like Donnie Darko.
Yeah. That, which is Donnie Darko, he totally understands.
It's a Donnie Darko reference. Just say that.
So the plot thickens even further. Eddie goes to see R.K. Maroon to get the rest of his money, and R.K. Maroon gets murdered by a long gun. And the movie makes it seem like Jessica did it.
Yeah.
And they make it seem like Jessica kidnapped Roger. And Eddie has to escape in a cart. They're with a cartoon taxi they previously used to escape.
Mm-hmm. Before we go on, so there's a point where it's like the job is gonna cost $100. $100. $100 in 1947 was $1,500 in today's money. But that does seem reasonable for a private eye.
Yeah, it does. Maybe not a bottom of the barrel private eye, like maybe not one who's crawled into a bottle, as you said.
But yeah, that makes it even more intense, that inflation, when Judge Doom, I was gonna say Judge Dredd, goes to the bar and writes, it's like the reward is $5,000, which I'm sure he wasn't gonna pay anyway.
Right.
But that was $75,000 adjusted for inflation.
And he expects that, and we are expected to believe that they won't turn in Roger just because he made them laugh.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But it worked.
You brought up Benny, Chrissy, which is a beloved character. The Cab. Benny the Cab from Brooklyn. Hey, how about those Dodgers? The real bums, right? This is, of course, right before the Dodgers are about to move to Los Angeles and be in that city. The whole chase scene with the weasels and then the real cops. I don't know when the good time to talk about the animation and just in general, like what he does with this movie.
Now is a good time.
But I feel like that might be the scene where it's just so cool and it looks so good. Even now, it looks so good. Just the interactions between the humans and the toons. I think it's starting to maybe look a little dated, but I think it still looks so good. Like, Chrissy, you know that I've been watching X-Files a little bit lately, and I've been watching I'm in like season 7 or something right now, and I just watched. I mean, there's some awful animation, and we're talking that's 10 years plus after this was made.
Yeah.
And this looks, and obviously it's different movie money, Spielberg money versus X-Files money, Fox money in 1990s something. But like, it's so smooth, and it was so, I think, like, important, not just important, but like monumental for kind of like cinema and this kind of anime, doing
Mhm.
the animation with real life, and even with CGI. Like, where would we be today with CGI if not for this movie and for its success and popularity and everything, to show like, yeah, you can really do this.
Mhm.
And it's, and Zemeckis goes on to do lots of crazy stuff with animation and mocap and all sorts of stuff. And this is really kind of the genesis, like, I think, him really playing around with it, not playing around with it, but like, is the quintessential.
Really
I love it. I just
pushing
love
the
it. Nathan,
boundaries. Yeah.
you talk movie stuff now. I'll shut up because I want
Activate.
you to tell me what you think about it, because I want
Yeah.
to hear it.
When you like the scene that I would always see in behind the scenes, it's almost kind of like when they're talking about movie magic and all the different, like, the progression of technology and all the crazy things they did. I always remember the behind the scenes of where the weasels burst in, and he's got Roger in the dishwater, and Roger pops up, pops down, and then the weasels are literally moving physical guns around the house. And just the level of like puppetry and technology that they had, of basically controlling these guns from up above, of just the handcuffs on his wrist moving all the time as he moves, in just perfect timing. And then where Roger pops up, spits water, real water, not fake water, goes back down. There's a splash. The weasels splash the water to kind of like, to say goodbye to him. Like, all that work is just amazing, and then in the next scene, there's a moment where Roger's in the back room and he's bouncing around the place, and in one of the takes, they, whoever was basically operating, where Roger was supposed to be, knocks the lamp that goes overhead, and the lamp is swinging back and forth and back and forth, and they decide, you know what, let's use that take. And it made their life so difficult on the animation, because lit and shaded, and basically, but it became like a term, bump the lamp, which was used by Disney employees and like animators, for just going the extra mile to make something special, even if the audience isn't even aware of it, of just basically gilding the lily, of making it something really unique and special, and but really hard to pull off, yeah. It's just the level of like innovation and artistry that went in, just to make all this stuff seem like it's interacting. When, if you go revisit this movie for a couple of scenes, just imagine like what is physical, and what they had to do in just a single shot to pull all this off and remove the characters. Like, pull yourself out of the story and just kind of marvel at the filmmaking, because I mean, there's no CGI. Was not
No.
a thing.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and it's so hard to imagine like what all went into it, but it's easy to take for granted now. I don't think Rocket was like, "Wow, look at this neat animation." He just takes it for granted that cartoons and people can interact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like when people watch Citizen Kane now, they're bored because they're like, it's just a movie about a guy with a sled. But like, back in the day, people were like, you can see two things on the screen at one time, they're both clear. That's insane. What? Because they'd never seen anything, like everything looks
I'm
so
not
2D.
impressed by deep focus.
Yeah.
Low angles. Give me a break.
You put the camera in the floor. Who cares? Cameras can go in the sky. Yeah. So, Eddie has to go to Toontown. He takes Betty the cab to Toontown. Everything's silly in Toontown. There's a lot of funny gags. He interacts with Tweety Bird and stuff like that. Jessica saves Eddie, and we learn that Judge Doom is the bad guy.
Huge surprise.
Huge surprise. He wants Toontown for himself. At the Acme factory, they need the will. They still need the will. The judge then explains that he's retiring to dismantle the red car and put freeways through Toontown, which we have to assume actually happens, as there is no Toontown in LA and there are freeways.
Oh, 100%. That's absolutely what happens.
Oh man, what is
He wants to. He's got this huge truck full of like a hose that will spray, dip, and just like eradicate Toontown. Just wipe it off the map. Completely destroy Toontown and every toon with it.
I would feel like there would still be some serious legal repercussions that he's just kind of
eminent
not
domain,
appreciating.
I guess, right? Like that's the stuff that actually happened to build places, to build freeways, right? Is that's I may have just watched another Zemeckis movie right before recording here, Used Cars, and that was a plot point in that movie. Is there's a new freeway ramp coming in, and it's actually a movie set in Arizona.
Nice.
I never knew, but yeah, and so it seems to be a Zemeckis theme early on.
So do you think Zemeckis? Yeah, it's my guess is that he's not pro freeway or anti freeway.
No,
but
I just thought it was funny.
But it freeways and like things like Route 66 do change the culture. It changes the physical landscape, because all the things that Doom is talking about actually happens. Of basically like these little malls and gas stations and all these different like little commerce spots pop up all around these freeway exits.
Yep.
It's just like seeing a thing change. It's like when the railroads first appeared. Yep. And how it connected and created different spots of communities and also left some behind.
So we also learned that Judge Dredd is a toon, and not just any toon. He's the toon that killed Eddie's brother. What? So he obviously gets flattened by a steamroller, and then reinflates himself, but he gets dipped. He gets sort of reverse dipped. Yeah. And the truck drives through the wall to Toontown, but Eddie washes all the dip away so that the toons all come pouring out this door, and they're all like,
"We need everyone to sing at the end. Hurry!
Yeah. Hurry, get in here, toons!
Hurry, get it faster! Jeez, come on, get in here!"
They find the will, and they realize it's been written in disappearing, reappearing ink. But they find the will that leaves Toontown to the toons. And Eddie's no longer a sourpuss, and everyone's happy.
Mm-hmm.
Smile, darn, smile. You know the whole world is a great world after all.
It does kind of wrap up rather quickly.
It sure does.
I think there was probably like the money being spent. It's like, okay, we gotta wrap it up.
All right,
it wasn't quite the Monty Python ending. We ran out of money, but
right.
I think it's I think all of it, especially just it is a capitalism commentary quite a bit, right? Because the freeway and everything, like you said, that all kind of represents progress and capitalistic growth and everything, it's in cahoots with a judge. The government,
Mhm.
right, is the ones allowing and
He bought
stampeding and
his the election.
yep, yeah, he
Mhm.
bought his exactly bought his election. They're literally erasing a race of people off the planet, being the
Uh-huh.
tunes. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeesh.
Yeah. They effectively execute like a child in front of
Yeah.
everyone, and
Yeah.
everyone is complicit.
Yeah.
So it's this. There's a lot of deep commentary in a lot of that. I feel like
Yep.
all wrapped in this very fun movie about a rabbit and
And
this
his
drunk
big
guy
booby wife.
and his big
Yeah.
booby wife, and but it does end. It ends sweetly, and
Mhm.
I like the happy ending for Eddie and for Dolores, and I like the happy ending for Roger and for Jessica, and obviously getting the Porky Pig sign off is had to be done.
Which is perfect, yeah.
Absolutely, but I also I just it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And
So on a scale of 1 patty cake to 10 patty cakes, 10 patty
Ooh.
cakes
10
being the
patty
best,
cakes.
you give it 10 patty cakes?
Hands down, hands up, 10 patty cakes.
Hands up.
10 patty cakes.
Hands up, hands down. Hands up, hands down.
Hands up.
10 times.
What about you, Nathan?
I'm
Nathan
gonna
Blackwell?
so I'm gonna go with it's still very high, so 8.5. I feel 8.5. Like there's some stuff for me that I that it wraps up quickly. There's some stuff that I wish was like I felt like I wanted a little more of an Eddie and Dolores ending too. But
Mhm.
she's basically kind of gone in the story, and obviously she doesn't have a lot to do. It's not like she's like her kind of like tagging along doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's so creative, so fun. It's 8.5 is what I'm feeling.
Okay. I'm going to go slightly higher and give it a 9 because I think it holds up. I think it holds up somewhat flawlessly. I think the animation is unique enough so that even though we do have like mocap and all this crazy like CGI stuff now, we can have Thanos snapping his fingers. It still holds up as being like a unique vision and a unique world and a film noir for dummies. And Rocket really enjoyed it.
This is a good gateway for like film noir. It's like kid noir,
Exactly.
Kid
And
Noir. That's exactly what they should name it. Kid Noir.
Rocket at no point was like not involved in the viewing of the film. He was definitely engaged and was interested in the whole time. He never got bored with it. So I think it holds up. So I give it a 9. And
I
I
love
think
that
it was a great watch.
Eddie, we talk about in film noir, Eddie Valiant, his hat rack is a falcon. When he comes into when he comes into his apartment, his hat rack is a falcon. So there's like all these little nods to noir throughout it, constantly, which I love. And yeah. So it's
what about a deep cut recommendation? Nathan, do you have one?
I do. Thank God. Sometimes these are so hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was trying to think of what I ended up on. So this movie it's not kind of the blended world of live action and cartoons, but in a lot of ways it kind of is. It's the blend of live action and video games. And it still has to thread that line of how does the normal reality we live in interact with this meta magic, and like the surface one version of that would be Ready Player One, but that's not where I'm going. My recommendation is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Okay, good.
Which I feel is as imaginative and as adept at blending those worlds together and creating a brand new reality that I wish we could be in, and it is just as deadly and chaotic as well, at any point you could just explode in a bunch of quarters.
Yep. I love it. That's a great recommendation. What is yours, Nathan Blackwell?
I'm not
I mean,
Nathan
Nathan
Blackwell.
Reporter. See, I was bound to get confused at
Nathan
some
Blackwell
point.
too.
Well, I will say Nathan Blackwell's choice of Scott Pilgrim versus the World is like I was trying to think of that movie. I think when I was trying to think of the deep cut, I love that's another one of my favorites. I've probably watched it not as many as Roger Rabbit, but quite a few times by one of my favorite directors, Edgar Wright. I think I've seen every single one of his movies. I've seen almost every Zemeckis. There's a few out there I still haven't seen. So I for my deep cut, I was tempted to go with a Zemeckis. Like I said, Beowulf and Used Cars, two I referenced earlier, are ones I thought about going with because Beowulf, while not like great movie, is just very interesting to watch how they do, and especially with all the mocap stuff. And then Used Cars is just a ridiculous, silly movie that I just recommend anyone watch anytime. But I decided to go a slightly different route, and I thought Nathan was maybe going down this lane. 5 years after this movie was made, good old Bob Hoskins did another joint.
Okay.
With Johnny Legs called Super Mario Brothers.
Oh,
so we're taking
gosh.
doing the movie. I'm basically, it's a movie that takes other IP in Super Mario Brothers, right? Just kind of like this takes a lot of IP, all the IP from Disney and Warner Brothers and everything. It's a movie that's got portals between different worlds, and it's the blending of two different worlds. So this is also Abby was like, you have to choose Super Mario Brothers.
Oh my god!
I think she's totally right. And then we tried to we tried to watch that before recording tonight, and you can only buy it like the DVD. You can't stream it anywhere.
What? They want it erased from existence.
Yeah.
So I'm going Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Bros.
Wow.
Whatever it was called. Yeah.
Yep.
Doing it.
Well, Nate McWhorter, you actually mentioned my deep cut recommendation as being not as good as this cantina, as the speakeasy in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I recommend at Disneyland the Star Wars Cantina because it is the closest you can get to being in a movie that you love.
Okay.
So all of Disneyland, of course, is a perfect recommendation for this movie. You've got Buena Vista Street, you've got the red car. It really does look like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You've got Toontown, of course. You've got the Roger Rabbit ride, of course. But the Star Wars Cantina is so immersive and so like the movie that it really is like you get to step out of reality and step into Star Wars land. And then even further into the world of this, not animated, but this fantastical, impossible world where they've got like the DJ is playing the songs and everybody's in costume and they're in character. And you're just like, that's as real as you can get in a fake world. So that's what Roger Rabbit made me think of, in addition to thinking about all the things in Disneyland that are Roger Rabbit adjacent. I think the Star Wars Cantina is the realest fake thing in our world.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think we can't go away without talking about Ready Player One and Cool World.
Cool World. Oh my god. Oh, how embarrassing.
Oh my god. So Cool World. So imagine like a version, a much hornier version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So 1992, Ralph Bakshi, an early performance by Brad Pitt.
Ooh, so young. He's so young.
Yeah. I don't remember anything good.
Kim Basinger.
Yes, Kim Basinger playing the sexualized bombshell. Now, it's not like a ripoff of Who Framed Roger Rabbit if you know nothing of Cool World. It's more kind of like, oh my God, we can get this movie greenlighted now because of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Where basically a human is lost in Toontown, but it's kind of, was it rated R?
Oh yeah, had to be.
Yeah, let's find out. We don't want to, but yeah. And then Ready Player One is the only other time I can think of where all those properties were together. It was kind of like,
Oh, it's PG-13. Cool World is PG-13.
which is a surprise because it had a much more sexy horniness to it. You know, a little more perverse. Yeah, so that was Cool World. Not Ready Player One, but yeah, of all those different, like I feel like they got all those, again, Steven Spielberg, but they got all those different IPs to come together because of Roger Rabbit. It's like, we're gonna do another Roger Rabbit. You know, it's
and
like
don't you want in on it? You want in on this?
Exactly.
We don't get Space Jam without Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Straight up, Space Jam doesn't happen without Roger Rabbit.
Oh
so look, you compare Bugs with anybody, it'll be successful.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
So there's ups and downs, you know, unintended consequences of Who Framed Roger Rabbit that no one could control.
No one could control. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sticking around to the end. If you want to learn more about where you can find Nathan Blackwell and Chrissy Lenz, go to our show page on truestory.fm. You'll have links to all of the various things that we do out in the world. We'll also include links to Nate McWhorter's various projects and sundries and things. But just in case someone doesn't have the time to go to truestory.fm, Nathan Blackwell, where can they find your work?
Squishystudios.com is the best place. That will lead to our socials and all those wonderful different things. If you want to check out the feature film that I did that's in film festivals right now, The Last Movie Ever Made is on, we're on Facebook and Instagram, and that's probably the best way. We're also on Twitter. I'm not going to call it by any other name, but we rarely update that page. So I'd check us out on Instagram or Facebook.
Excellent. Nate McWhorter, where can people find you?
You can find me Friday nights mostly at the Neighborhood Comedy Theater and downtown Mesa, Arizona. Go to nctphoenix.com for tickets and details. We do shows on Saturday night too, but I'm really trying to promote the Friday shows because we just need some people out there at the Friday night shows. They're really awesome. They're really fun, and also that's the night I'm there the most. So go on a Saturday if you want to see some awesome short form. Go on Friday if you want to see some super awesome long form.
Woo!
Where can people hear you on?
And also you can hear me also on this podcast network, True Story FM, on Gank That Drank with my co-host Chrissy Lenz, where we navigate the world that is Supernatural, our favorite TV show, and we do it not sober. No, we do it while playing drinking games that we make up and hopefully are good, and sometimes are and sometimes are not. Sometimes they're too good, and those are the fun episodes.
Sometimes they're too good, yeah.
A couple times they've been so good we've had to call and say, can we record tomorrow? The game is too
good. Which is going to bring us to our bonus content. So if you still want more of Nate, and Chrissy, you want to hang around, become a member of the podcast, you get a little bit of bonus content. And today's bonus content is going to be us trying to convince Nathan Blackwell to watch a show
Yes.
he's never seen.
I've
Supernatural.
never seen a single episode of Supernatural, the show you have devoted a podcast to. So
Yes.
you guys are going to sell me on it and tell me
Yep.
how to best kind of tap in. Maybe
Yep.
what we'll do is, so you'll sell me on it, why it's good. And then maybe instead of like recommending like specific episodes, maybe you recommend like the specific episodes that you covered on your podcast. Like, so in other words,
perfect.
the podcast episodes that you really think are good ones and the episodes that go with that. So yeah.
Perfect. So that's what we're doing next. If you want to listen to it, become a member. It's so cheap. It's only $5. It's like the easiest thing you'll ever do. So do that for us. Like, rate, review, star, subscribe, thumbs up, all of those things. We appreciate you so much. And hey, while you're out there in the world, be sure to keep the most excellent 80s movies podcast motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party
on, dudes.
I can't
do it.
This should have been a story that we had in the podcast, but I was obsessed with that noise of trying to reproduce that like as a kid and try to get attention to it. So please,
you're really good at it. Oh my gosh, we should have had that. This is staying in the main content. This is staying as a bonus content.
Just for the bonus content. In a world of chaos, you have the power to unlock a time-warping version of our show with a peek behind the scenes and even more Nathan and Chrissy banter.
That's right. When you become a member of the most excellent 80s movies podcast at truestory.fm, you get episodes 1 week early.
Plus, each episode has bonus content for your listening delight and amusement that you can't get anywhere else.
And you can hop onto the truestory.fm Discord to join the conversation there too, where we chat about our show and all the other shows that truestory.fm has to offer.
So be a hero to this podcast and a hero to your ears. Go to True Story FM today, click on our show page, and become a member.
And when you're out there in the world, be sure to keep the most excellent 80s movies podcast motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party on,
dudes.